This is Live Talk with Dwayne Moore. We're talking worship on a global scale.
Hey everybody, this is Dwayne. We're back with a lot more Live Talk, but we're not in our normal place. Hey, this is Henri, everybody.
Hello, hello.
So we're in, see if I can pronounce it right, Maritzburg.
Yeah, Peter Maritzburg. Yeah, South Africa.
South Africa.
Yeah.
Now, Henri, you're from South Africa.
Yes, yeah, from Johannesburg in the Gauteng province of South Africa. So
Yeah. And so Johannesburg, 'cause a lot of people don't know, the geography of South Africa, which, by the way, is a very cool country. I mean, really love the terrain, love the people, but a lot of people don't really know where Johannesburg is. Why don't you tell us, is it the top of the country, the bottom? Where's Johannesburg?
Testing my geography skills here, but
I am in fact trying to do that.
Yeah, so Johannesburg is in the Gauteng province, so it's more up north.
More up north. That's what I
Yes,
thought.
yeah.
Well, now we are actually down in the southern part, correct?
Yeah, we're in KwaZulu-Natal province, which is more towards the coast.
More towards the coast.
Yeah.
Right. And tomorrow we will be flying to the coast.
Yeah, to Cape Town.
Cape Town, that's
Right.
right. We're going to Cape Town tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we know that you're watching from different places, and maybe in the United States. You may be a worship leader. You're a worship leader.
Yes.
Yes, and a wonderful one at that, a fine one.
Thanks.
And I got to be in your church. Not your church, not literally your church, but
The church I attend.
the church and you're on staff at that church.
Yes.
And I got to be there and speak on Sunday in Johannesburg. But tomorrow we're flying to Cape Town to do conferences, right? More than one.
Yeah.
So, but you may be watching from the States as a worship leader or a pastor, or you may be watching in Asia. This is broadcast over satellite television on King Television, and you may be in Asia somewhere, listening to us speak my southern United States version of English and his wonderful version of English here in South Africa. Wherever you are, we're glad you joined us.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And technology is amazing that we can sit here in this little room, in our hotel room, and talk to you from wherever you are in the world. Obviously, we've recorded it. We couldn't do this live.
Unfortunately,
Unfortunately, I wish we could.
Yeah.
Live would have been great, but we're actually recording this on a Wednesday evening before you're watching it on a Friday evening is when most of you are watching it.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but it is the week of, at least we're within a couple of days of when you're watching this. And so by the time you are watching this, we will be in Cape Town, Lord willing, and we will be, we'll be doing a conference.
Yeah, a Friday evening.
They said it's going to be an exciting place.
Yeah.
They like to dance and like to move a lot.
Yeah, they said we're going to go all night apparently.
No,
so
I don't
we'll
think I'm
see
gonna
about
make
that.
Not sure I'll make it singing and speaking all night. I may not be worth much. But on Saturday morning, we're also doing a conference at another place.
Yes.
Now, the question is, what are we doing? Well, we teach worship leaders. We train teams of worship leaders, right?
Yeah.
And we have pastors there, too, that want to learn. And we have elders sometimes that come. In fact, we just did a conference yesterday here in Peter Maritzburg.
Yeah.
And had a great time.
It was amazing, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like sponges, just wanting to learn more.
Yeah.
So let's talk. Your first experience with us was, as far as on our team and being a part of us, was last week in Zambia.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Sure. What
Did
experience.
you think about that?
Wow. There's so many things that come to mind. Just seeing people from different cultures, different denominations, different types of churches just come together. We all worship the same God. I think that really encouraged me personally, seeing people just worshiping God together. And we are so focused on our culture, but that we forget that we serve the same God. I think that really encouraged me.
Yeah, and you said different cultures, different denominations. We had Baptists and Pentecostals, and I think a couple of other denominations, and they were together for a full week. Well, 5 days.
Yeah, it's special.
It was very special.
Really
I don't know that I've ever seen that before, especially with pastors coming with their worship leaders.
Yeah.
I don't think I know I've never seen that.
Yeah. What did you think about the pastors and worship leaders?
Well, I was a little bit nervous about it, to be honest, to start with, because when we first thought of the idea and had this dream of doing it, wasn't sure how well it'd go. because pastors, first of all, they're very busy people. Wasn't sure they would even be able to commit that much time, but they did. Well, we had a lot of people there, a lot of pastors there. But having their worship leader for a full week, some of them have never spent that kind of time with their worship leaders. They've just never. I know you are very close to your pastor. Well, one of yours is your dad.
Yes, so we're pretty close.
You're really close, and you got a very amazing family, by the way. But
thank you.
But even the pastor of the contemporary service, Willem. Man, I mean, I could hang out with that guy. I mean, he's just awesome. Both of them. Your dad did a braai. Do you guys know what a braai is? Why don't you tell us what a braai is? Because I may not define it correctly, but it was wonderful food. I'll say that.
It's a traditional South African type of way of cooking food. So we just cook meat over the open flame.
Oh, it's so good.
It's the best thing. We love our meat in South Africa.
Man, so, but it was also kind of a cool night. The temperature was kind of cool, and we got to sit around the fire and watch your dad just do his work his magic. So anyway, I just really enjoyed being around your father and your mom and your sisters. But so you've got a great family, but also you have a really good church family, and you have a good pastors. So the point I was making a moment ago is not everybody has that relationship.
It's difficult sometimes getting pastors and worship leaders. Usually your musicians are more emotional, and the pastors can be very rational. So sometimes it's difficult to.
I think that's well said. Do you catch that? They're different the way they see things too.
And neither is right or wrong. It's just different personalities.
Exactly. And pastors tend to feel like, hey, you go do the music, you go do the worship, and I'll take care of the preaching. And I think they saw a bigger vision there. I think when they came to realize that they need to be not micromanaging the worship leaders, not telling them what songs to sing every time, but to be more involved with the planning of the service overall. I mean, we really ought to do that, right? We ought to be thinking, not compartmentalize it like, okay, music, we're done with that now, message. It really should flow together.
I think it's just more effective when we do it that way, when the pastor and the worship leader plans it together. The one time I remember a pastor telling me a story of, it was Easter Sunday, and the worship leader sang the song, "Oh, happy day," and I'm like, oh sorry, it was Easter Friday, not Easter Sunday. And I mean, that's not a happy day.
Not, right.
So it's important to work together. I think it's just more effective when we do it that way.
And it's, one of the things we try to teach at the intensive school is thinking ahead, thinking in advance, praying over the service, praying over the effectiveness of it, right? Praying over who will be there potentially. And so that's some of the things we did last week. We had, I believe if I remember correctly, we graduated 152 people.
Sure.
But we also had our team there. We brought in a team from the United States, from Kenya, other places. I think we had 7 or maybe 8 nations represented.
It was 8.
Was it 8? Yeah. And what about the prayer for the nations?
Wow, that was very special. So what we did is there was a courtyard, and we took some chalk, and every person that represented a nation had to draw a map of their country and just write down, I think it was 3 prayer points. And then we moved around in groups, and we just prayed for specific things going on in those nations. And I was so emotional when we prayed for South Africa. I couldn't even open my mouth, because it was just so impacting to see people from around the world praying for my country, and as well seeing how it touched other people. It was, prayer is important, and I think as believers we often take it for granted. We say our prayers in the evenings before we go to bed, but the prayer of a believer has an impact, and God listens to us when we pray in faith. That's amazing. So I was really deeply touched by that time of prayer.
I was too, and we've done it 3 or 4 times now at schools. We started, first time we did it was in Zimbabwe back in 2019, so we've done it now, because we do at least one in school each year, except for COVID. So I guess now we're at 3 or 4 times, and every time we do it, it's so powerful. You don't quite know what it'll be. You can't plan that. You can only plan so much of that. I'm reminded of 2 Chronicles chapter 20, when the children of Judah discovered that these armies were marching against them, and Jehoshaphat called them to pray. Remember that story? And you can kind of tell, you assume that someone probably thought about that and how that would, because you got hundreds of thousands of people. How are they going to gather? How are they going to? I'm sure there's some planning the planners among us thinking, how do you pull off an event like that? But ultimately, when Jehoshaphat prayed, at the end of it, they just stood there and waited before God. There's only so much planning you can do, is the point. Yeah. And in the prayer for the nations, we grouped them in groups and we instructed them to pray and then move to the next nation and move to the next nation. But how they prayed, the passion with which they prayed, we could not have predicted that. And they were so passionate.
Just seeing people's faith, trusting God for miracles in their countries. When there's circumstances, that humanly it doesn't seem that there's any hope. But we know when we pray, there's hope because we serve a great God,
Amen.
And He changes things.
And in my opinion, you drew because we had somebody from each nation draw their own nation, right? Well, you drew South Africa.
Well, I googled the map, so
but it looked so
helped.
good. It looked amazing, and you did not take a picture of it.
I forgot.
We would show it but he didn't take one.
Sorry, guys.
Anyway, so that was really an incredible experience. We had pastors toward the end coming up to us saying, "This is going to change our churches. This is going to bring spiritual awakening." That's the words they used. The vice president of the Baptist convention there in Zambia came up to me and said, "This is going to bring a spiritual awakening." He said, "Our pastors have been coming to me, the Baptist pastors, I assume that's what he meant, have been coming to me saying, 'Please, can we do this again?'"
Yeah, sure.
So I think, they want us to come back. I think that's a powerful statement. Now, not only did we have the school, but do you remember how we went out and prayed for those churches where the worship Bible schools were going to take place?
Now that was really special, just being there, before the ministry is actually happening, just being prepared on a spiritual level, going out in faith, asking God to bless these places where over, I can't remember the exact number, but
I don't know
many
total,
kids,
but I know they had close to 400 every day.
Sure.
400 children from the villages.
Yeah.
They were a little overwhelmed. I don't think they expected that many. And what they did, we've written some material that teaches children about worship and the gospel.
Sure.
And those are not two different ideas. I mean, we worship a God who sent His Son Jesus to die on the cross, and we thank God for His Son.
Yes.
And so we teach children that God is great.
Yep.
He's worthy of praise, but He's also good. He's a good God that wants the good for us. And then we teach them to thank Him. Let us thank Him and respond in worship, respond in gratefulness. And finally, thank Him for His love. So we talk the gospel. We talk the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Yep. And I know some are watching that maybe you believe in several gods. Maybe you believe in, maybe you feel like Jesus is a good man, but maybe not the God man. Well, we believe He is the God man. Yeah. And we teach that to children. We believe that Jesus Christ is the only way to salvation and only way to the Father.
Way, the truth, and the life.
Exactly. The way, was it John chapter 14, as I recall? Jesus He said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me." Yeah. So that's what we teach these children. And it is because we believe it's the truth that's changed our lives. Amen?
Amen.
Yeah. So, you talk to me now. I mean, you're getting to know us. Put me on the spot here. I mean, because this is only your second week now. We're in the second week of you traveling with us. Now, we went from Zambia, flew down or for you back home, but I flew with you down to South Africa, and we've been in Johannesburg. Now we're in Pietermaritzburg. We're going to be in Cape Town. Then from there we go to Kimberley, which is in the middle of the country.
Yes. More towards the middle.
So, what are you learning? I mean, what are you picking up from all this?
I'm learning a lot. Something, and I would like to pick your brain on it as well, that really interested me was the obviously there was many different cultures represented, people from the United States, people from Zambia, from Kenya, from South Africa, some guys from Uganda as well. And what was amazing for me was different cultures, but there's quite a few similarities. Yes. So I would like to hear from you, what were the things that you found interesting about the similarities in the way that we worship God? Yeah.
Well, you got to, first of all, keep in mind, I've been doing this a while.
Yeah.
I started traveling and doing this years ago, but in earnest, under the umbrella of Next Level Worship, 6 years ago. So we've come over here many times, and we've seen the different cultures in various nations because we work in different nations. And so I've had the luxury, maybe unlike yourself, I've been able to see those cultures, and I've seen some similarities. But what I've noticed is that even if you got people that love to dance and others that are not so sure about dancing, they come together if they love each other and they respect each other and understand that they love Jesus as you love Jesus.
Yes.
Then we begin to go, well, you don't do it quite the same way, but I can overlook a few things in order to come under the commonality of the cross.
Sure.
And so even though our culture is different, it's actually can be celebrated. I mean, it's some are more sedate, some like faster songs. It's some like songs that are pentatonic. I don't know. The first time we went to Ethiopia, they were singing. It was not quite a pentatonic scale. I don't know what it was.
Sure.
But it was different. It sounded cool.
Yeah.
And it's like we can't sing that because we're not used to our voices aren't used to singing those semitones like that. But it sounded awesome to listen to.
Sure.
So you just learn to just be a part. I mean, you blended in great. Yesterday at the conference here, they had a team up there that were singing with you, and you were just smiling, playing right along. And I guess you just learn to adapt.
Yeah. I think it goes down to why are we doing this? Because we're worshiping God, and if we're worshiping God, then yes, we prefer certain styles, but those aren't ultimately the important things. It's about worshiping Him, and doing that with conviction, and doing it with your whole heart, whole soul, spirit, body, and mind. So yeah, I think that's
that's certainly what we shoot for.
Yeah.
So you've heard what we teach, what our primary message is. How do you think that's resonating in South Africa so far?
Sure.
I know it's a little bit premature because we haven't been, but to your church and then down here in one conference. So we're but what are you hoping will come from what we're sharing?
I think it's an important message that worship starts from the inside, then it goes upward towards God, and then we have to go outward towards one another, and reaching people. I think especially in South Africa, we've got musicians that are talented. There's no lack of talent, but I think sometimes, and I'm including myself in this, we often forget why we're worshiping, and we get caught up in the technicalities of.
I've been guilty of it.
Yeah, of just is the drums too loud, or how many fast songs should we do? And I think those things are important, but when we forget why we do worship, then it doesn't make sense. So I think that's a very important message in South Africa, and I think the people are hungry. We want to learn more about worship and how to correctly worship God, to worship Him in spirit and in truth. So I think it's an important message which we desperately need.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that. When we come into a country like South Africa, this is our first time to officially be here. We came and spoke at Baptist, or I came and spoke, and then I brought Donald Katala, our Africa director, with me, and Stephen, my son, to Baptist Theological College. And that's actually where we met you.
Yep.
What, 4 or 5 years ago now?
Yeah, it was 2018, I think.
Yeah, maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So that we were there, and we came down to Kimberley. But as far as really having a vision and for the country, haven't had that. Just more. That was more a personal invitation from 1 or 2 people just to come to one specific place, and we enjoyed it, loved it actually. But wasn't sure we'd come back, and didn't know what we would do if we did come back. As far as will we do conferences? Will we do maybe an intensive school one day? What has God got in store? Well, this time we're here to scout out this area to even down on the coast. So we started up in the northern part, Johannesburg, and now we're on the coast. Now we're going to also go to Kimberley, and we're just asking questions of leaders. Say the message you're hearing of inward worship starting there, like everything you just described, does that resonate with you and your people? And so that's how we scout out a place. We see, is there a need? Billy Graham Association years ago, a long time ago, and when we were trained by them, taught us, they go, or and Franklin Graham does the same thing, I'm sure. They go where they are invited, where there's a need.
Yeah.
It's a really powerful idea.
That's really powerful.
You know, you think about Paul, there was a Macedonian call, so to speak. Remember that, where they said, come over and help us.
Yeah, sure.
And so we're listening for that.
Wow.
And they may not be putting those exact words, but when people come up to you, like I think of Pastor Walter from yesterday.
Great guy.
Well,
Sure.
it was amazing. And we were in his church doing the conference, and he just can't talk enough about it. Not that we were all that special, but it's more the message and what we're sharing. I think they resonate with that.
Yeah. If I may ask, so I presume whenever you travel around the world, you get many people that are interested and invite you to their countries or to their churches and say they want Next Level Worship to come in and to teach or to do an intensive school. So how do you decide, even after a scouting trip like this, seeing what's going on in the country, how do you decide where to go and where to put your energy towards?
That's a really great question. We do get a lot of invitations, honestly. The word has gotten out, and I'm glad. I'm thankful. But and right now, in some capacity or another, we're working in 20 countries. But I need to clarify what I mean with that. We're not physically in 20 countries. Our staff is too small to do that. But thank God for technology that allows us to work in countries even like Pakistan. I've never set foot in Pakistan. But yet we've trained over 2,000 pastors there. And we have a weekly television show that some of you are watching right now. So there's the ways that we can work in those countries. But to commit to a country is what we call a focus country. We go through a process of scouting, of really just a time of prayer. We consult with local leaders like you and Pastor Mitchell Lawrence.
Yep.
You guys are some of our most trusted people here in the country, so we want to hear what you think.
Sure, thank you.
And then we will also consult our board of directors. We don't decide we're going to focus on a country without them okaying it, because I tend to want to take come on everybody, let's all get in here, let's just do all the countries, and the reality is you can't do that, because when we focus on a country, what we mean by that is that we'll commit to them for anywhere from 2 years, 3 years, even out to 5 years. That we'll come back and we'll do more conferences and we'll really long-term try to train leaders. So how do we decide? Part of that's just trying to be discerning, man. We're not always smart enough to know, but if there's local leaders that have some influence, and they're really passionate about it, maybe they've already been praying for it. Oh, I love it when they say, we've been praying for this.
Sure.
You've been praying for this? Before they even knew who we were, they've been praying for it. Well, now you got my attention when you say that.
Yes.
Because I go, So, because there's an unseen world that none of us can see.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know, even sometimes we're unaware, but God is in control, right?
Yep.
And the unseen controls the seen.
Wow.
And so we're saying, Lord, what are you doing that we're not even able to see? Whose hearts are you working in? What leaders are you raising up? What people are you bringing to our conferences?
Sure.
Sometimes we'll have a small number of people. I think yesterday wasn't a big number. It was a holiday. A lot of people were doing other things, right? But we had 40, 50 people there. Wow, that's good. But here's what I always consider. We may not have a large number, but you never know who God's working on in that room.
Yeah.
So we're looking around for that. If we have several people like that, we sense, wow, there's a lot of potential there. Then we are more likely to focus on the country.
Okay.
That help?
Yeah, that helps a lot.
But I wish I could give you take 2 aspirin, call me in the morning. Step 1, step 2, step 3. It's not even ever. I don't think it's ever that simple.
Yeah. Alden, you mentioned you speak to a lot of the local leaders. How do you involve them in your ministry and what you do? Because I think that's very important, involving local leaders, especially when you're coming from outside and not staying there permanently, just being there for a short term and then going back home. How do you involve the local leaders?
Well, we probably could work on that. I mean, we're always thinking of better ways to help people get involved and more opportunities. But some of the ways we have now, if you will go on our website, nextlevelworship.com, And there's some materials there. You don't have to even buy them. Some of them are free, or maybe $1. But you can download something for either little or not anything. And then in doing so, we'll ask you for your email address and just a small amount of information, and we'll start emailing you opportunities that come along.
Awesome.
Yeah, like a praise gathering that's online. It's international. You got people from around the world. Simultaneously just singing these songs together. It's awesome.
It's so great, eh?
It's so cool.
I love it.
You've seen that.
Yeah. And it's cool to see, like, when you're in that praise gathering, there's someone from Pakistan, there's someone from Zambia, and someone from Kenya. And
talking about different cultures.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Amazing,
and so those are opportunities that you can, and if we see your face, I'll just tell you, I'll just be transparent. If we see you coming into those things and knowing you're making time for those, it's like, that person is interested, being drawn into what we're doing.
Yeah.
We don't think you're a bad person if you don't do it. We just go, okay, maybe God's got that person's, being pulled in a different direction. No problem. Mm-hmm. But those who are drawn into what we're doing, we take note. And our staff will meet and we'll talk about certain people. We call them core community.
Sure.
And so you would go from just being someone that we just met to actually becoming more core community. Mm-hmm. And from there, now opportunities can come along. To be coached. We do a weekly coaching. It's really powerful online coaching. Sure. And we also have sponsorship opportunities where we connect you with a worship leader somewhere else in the world, or a pastor. And not everybody gets that opportunity. I'm just saying, these are possibilities.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. And we don't really promote that part a lot. We want to see if people are really hungry to grow, and then as the opportunities come along, we'll share with them. Yeah. But, that's what we do.
Sure.
And we have a Refocus conference in February of this next year, which is, it's that moment of praise gathering you and I were talking about, but it's like 3 days of it.
Yeah.
And we have speakers, and, man, it's powerful.
Yeah.
We have really good teaching, and we'll have music led by groups from around the world, in Germany and Bangladesh and other places. So you can be a part of this, but it starts by giving us your email address and letting us know you want to be involved.
Sure. That's amazing, yeah. And I think it's a good model, because discipleship goes both ways. It can't just be the leader just pouring in. The person receiving must be open and involved with that. So it goes both ways, and I think it's a good model.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, I see that. I've tried to mentor some people over the years that just weren't ready yet, and that's okay. But later on, they were. And I remember one teenage guy. His mom and dad really wanted me to mentor him, and he was only 17. Sure. And I said, well, okay, and then I noticed here in Peter Marysville they have Burger Kings. It happened to be a Burger King in Alabama, USA, where we planned to meet, and he didn't show up. He said, where is he? And he didn't come, so he apologized later, and his parents really apologized. And so I said, okay, it's fine. So we gave him another chance, set another appointment maybe he just didn't like Burger King. I don't know, but he didn't come again. I was like, dude, what happened? Where are you? So he apologized. We tried 3 times. He never came. So we said, I don't think you're ready, man. No offense, but I don't think you're ready.
Yeah.
But you know what? A couple years later, when he got some maturity about it, oh, man.
Wow.
He was all in. And so we
That's
meet
amazing.
every week and went through a mentoring process. So I think some people just may not be ready yet, or maybe they'll never be ready for next level worship. There are other ministries out there. We're not the only game in town by any means. But we really think we're pretty, we do enjoy hanging out with each other. Let me put that. We think we're pretty fun people to be around, and also hopefully it'll make an impact in your life. I'll just say that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sure.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, I guess before we go, we'll ask you guys to pray for us as we go. Tell us what are some songs. What are you thinking about for your sets, and
sure,
just kind of let them into what we do in these conferences.
Yeah. So usually we start. Well, so far I'm speaking like I've been doing this for a long time with you, but
do the same thing.
Yeah. So usually we start with a couple of songs. Maybe if there's a local worship team, they do a couple of songs. Then we come up and also lead worship, and then Dwayne usually speaks. On the various.
I have no problem speaking. I have the gift of gab. That's not a problem.
And after the teachings, we sometimes go into small groups or worship again. It depends on the teaching, I guess. yeah, so I'm very excited about worshiping together with people in Cape Town and in Kimberley. So it's going to be
Cape
good.
Town's a really cool city.
Yeah, wow. Oh, it's mother city of South Africa, beautiful place.
I'm
And they've got
excited.
good musicians in Cape Town.
Yeah?
So it's like all the jazz guys are over
Oh
there.
man,
So
it's gonna be fun.
it's going to be good.
Yeah, I can't get anyone to feel sorry for me being in Cape Town. I was telling her about it. Oh, I'm going to Cape Town. Oh, well, gee. I'm going to go suffer for Jesus in Cape Town. But then there's, so
The
pray
people there also need
They
Jesus.
do.
So even though the view is nice. So.
Well, thank you for joining us today for Live Talk. You got anything to add? Anything?
No, that's good.
All
Oh,
right.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been
it's
great,
fun.
man.
Yeah.
And we've really enjoyed you being with us, and I really appreciate you taking time. I know, I want to say thanks to Willem and your dad, Jakob,
Yes.
and the wonderful folks there at your church. I can't pronounce the name of your church. I just know it's Reformed Church of Linden. I can't pronounce the denomination, but anyway, it's in Afrikaans, and I don't speak that language very well. But thank you for letting us borrow Henri for this time. It's been great.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Lots of fun.
So we'll be back next week with more Live Talk, and thank you for joining us every week. And if you need prayer requests, if you've got some prayer requests in your heart, email us at office@nextlevelworship.com. office@nextlevelworship.com. And let us know how we can pray for you. And if you want to get involved with us, go to nextlevelworship.com, click on resources, and download something. Like I said, there's a lot of free stuff on there. Go get you something free and give us your email address and your information. That's all it takes. And we'll look forward to meeting you. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Live Talk with Dwayne Moore. Live Talk is presented by Next Level Worship International. To learn more about our global community and find great devotionals and other resources on lifestyle worship, visit nextlevelworship.com.